Well, thank you, Angel. Thank you for that introduction. So I still have a bit of a cough, so if I start hacking a little bit, please forgive me. But just as Angel said to me, my background, I've been doing this for a long time, 32 years. Probably I've been doing this longer than some of you have been alive. And I can tell you over the 32 years, the things that I've seen happen in network marketing and in the direct sales industry, it's an evolution. It's kind of like technology. It's kind of like cell phones. You know, we remember the big cell phones, and then they were, the size of a suitcase. Then they went from there to the brick phone where you could pound a nail in it if you wanted to, down to then we had the little tiny flip phones. Now we got the iPhone 1 and the iPhone, whatever, the 25, whatever. And so the thing to understand about this, in this industry, basically there's an evolution of compensation plans. So I want to just go through, and one of the things I want the Govvi promoters to understand is where we stand as far as compensation plans in the entire industry. I absolutely believe we have the strongest model or compensation plan in the industry. And so I'm going to go through and talk about that a little bit. And, one of the things I talk about is, if you're looking to make a six-figure income in the direct sales industry, okay, I want you to think about this for a second. What are people doing today in the world to make a six-figure income? Typically, what is their education? How much time have they spent putting that education to work? When I just had a neighbor, one of their sons just graduated from becoming a doctor. He's been going to school for 12 years. Now he's going into residency, which basically means he gets to spend another 3 years in the tutelage of other doctors before he can go out on his own, and his goal is to make a six-figure income plus on that. So, if you're looking at, okay, I want to become involved in Gobi, and the reason that you're involved in Gobi, I would assume, number one, you want to save money on your gas and your fuel bill, but also the reason you're here this morning is you want to look at this and say, number one, I want to get my products paid for. Number two, I want to move into profitability. And then three, I want what literally life has to offer. And so let's just start. There are basically 5 types of compensation plans in the network marketing industry. Okay. You start out, you have a stair-step breakaway, and I'll pull out my little old yellow pad here. Stair-step breakaways, these are some of the older models. When I started back in 1990, the first company I was involved with was a company called National Safety Associates, and it was a stair-step breakaway compensation plan. Okay, these are some of the older plans like Amway, Shackley, Herbalife, I think, had one, some of these older companies. And when you looked at it, it looked just like a stair-step. I mean, the way it worked, when the company I was in is you started out, you were a distributor. Now, here's the crazy part, and I want you to think about this for a second. When you were a distributor back in the day, you couldn't order directly from the company. You had to become what's called a direct distributor, meaning you can order directly from the company. So what would happen is if I brought Carrie into the business, okay, and when we were back in that day, we were marketing water filters. If she wanted a water filter, she would have to order it through me. I had to become a direct distributor, okay? She had to become a direct distributor. I had to sell $5,000 worth of product in 1 month in order to become a direct distributor or directly from the company. Until then, what would happen is Carrie would call me, place an order, and this was back in the day where we would fax the order in, okay? Then what would happen is the product would come to my house because I'm the one that had the account with the company, and then I would deliver it to Carrie, and I would make the difference. Back in the Amway days, if you were a direct distributor with the company, you would order directly from the company. When commissions were paid out, commissions were paid to the direct distributors. If Carrie went and sold it to Angel and Angel bought a product from Carrie, then I would have to, the commissions would actually be sent to me. I would have to keep track. I would pay Carrie, Carrie would pay Angel, okay? This is old school. Basically, again, as you sold $15,000, you made more of a commission. As you became a sales coordinator, sold $25,000 worth of product in 1 month. Then what would happen is you could tie into the levels of compensation plan. You'd make 1 or 5% down 2 levels. When you've got 3 sales coordinators under you, you would make 5% down 3 levels. And it would continue like that to where you'd go 1 wide, 2 wide, 3 wide, 5 wide, 7 wide, up to, now when Lance was in Nu Skin, he went and he built an organization of 12 wide. So what that means, and those 12 people had to be all, in this particular compensation plan, I don't know what it was called in Nu Skin, but in this one, they all had to be sales coordinators. So think about this. You literally had 12 legs, and I'm going to use literally a lot today because that's how it works. But you had 12 legs, and each one of those 12 legs had to be doing so much volume in every single month in order to qualify. Because what would happen is if you didn't have your 12 legs, well, you would only get 5 levels of 5%. Now understand something. In those 5 levels, every level you go down in a, in like a pyramid type model, 5 turns into 25, into 125, into 625, into 3,125, into 15,125. Every level you go down, there are more people in that level than all the previous levels combined. Okay. Now I'm spending some time kind of to go through this because I want you to understand where we stand in this equation. 5 levels, I mean, extremely difficult compensation plan. Okay. The stair-step breakaway, there aren't very many of them around anymore, just because, again, we've had kind of an evolution, but that's where we started. The next compensation plan out there is what's called a matrix. And what a matrix does is basically you can go so wide and so many levels deep. Okay. Some are, there's a 5x7 matrix. There's a 3x9 matrix. There's a 4x4 matrix. And what that means is basically you can sponsor 3 people wide and you get paid 4 levels deep, a 3x4 matrix. A 5x7 matrix, like for instance, Melaleuca is a 5x7 matrix, right? What that means is you personally sponsor 5 people wide and you get paid 7 levels deep. Okay. Now what happens is if you get 8 levels, 9 levels, 10 levels, 20 levels, whatever, guess what? It's out of your pay line and you don't get paid on that volume that's underneath you. Okay. A little quick thing about a matrix. In my knowledge, there's one company that's been successful with a matrix compensation plan in a big way, and that's called Melaleuca. Okay, Melaleuca is one of the premier companies in the industry, but typically I've never seen matrices go very far. There's actually a company out there, and I'll just throw this out. There's a company right now that thinks they're pretty hot stuff. Honestly, to me, I think that's one of the stupidest compensation plans I've ever seen in my life. It's a closed matrix, which means 2 turn into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16, and literally it goes from top to bottom, left to right. Watch. I'll give it 90 days, 6 months tops, okay? The next one is a Unilevel, and basically what a Unilevel is, it's just that you can sponsor as many people wide as you want, and you get paid so many levels deep, depending upon how wide you are. In most companies, or in most compensation plans outside of a binary, basically what happens is you get paid width versus depth, right? You say your income is width, your depth is security. In most companies, they have requirements where you've got to go out and you've got to go so many people wide in order to get paid so many levels deep, right? And the issue that I have with that is there's people that are great at sponsoring people, but there is no synergy. There is no, if I'm going wide, I'm never going to put anybody underneath anyone else, right? Because I've got to go wide. I have a width requirement. In Nu Skin, I had to have 12, or Lance had to have 12 legs that he had to keep active and going all the time. Okay, so he's never stacking anything. 1992, a little company called USANA comes along, and they have what's called a binary compensation plan. Okay, now one of the things, and I was one of the founding distributors of this company, and I'm pretty biased to a binary compensation plan because here's the conversation. Would you rather build 2 legs or 12 legs? I mean, and that's not a trick question. In a binary, okay, basically a binary, the way that works is you have a left leg and you have a right leg. We're going to talk about legs here in a second. But you have a left leg and a right leg, and you're paid to balance, okay? Basically, the way it works is you get paid a certain percentage. Most binaries pay out on a weekly basis, right? And you get paid a percentage of the lesser leg of your binary. So here's the deal. If you have a real strong right leg, what do you need to do? Build the left leg. I mean, it's not rocket science. Literally, you look at it like a scale, have a real strong right leg. It doesn't matter whether the right leg's the power leg or your left leg's the power leg or the corporate leg or the inside leg, whatever. Here's the deal. Binary means two legs. Every person in a binary compensation plan, which Gobi has, is responsible for two legs. Okay. Now, if you get people placed in your organization from your upline or whatever, that's a bonus. But the way this works is you are paid to balance two legs. Well, so every compensation plan has some drawbacks. So USANA had a drawback where he basically maxed out a business center at $1,000 a week, right? It doesn't matter. My number one business center in USANA, and I'm going to use the word literally again, literally does billions of dollars worth of sales per year, left and right leg. The company is essentially split about 60-40 down my two legs. Do you know what my number one business center makes per year for the guy who bought it for me or from me? Makes $1,000 a week. Doesn't matter how much volume. In USANA, it was a little bit different. You could have another business center where you had a 002, 003. But again, each time you started a business center, you had to build two legs. When I sold my distributorship, I had 39 business centers. Well, that's great, but think about that. That's 78 legs that had to be built. It's impossible. Along comes a little company called Isagenix. And again, this is an evolution of compensation plans. They start doing a cycling binary, meaning every time it cycles per week, it can cycle once, it can cycle 10 times, it can cycle 20 times a week. You get paid $1,000 every time it cycles. I don't know what the numbers are, but essentially you get paid every time it cycles. And then Monavie comes along, okay? Monavie comes along, and again, there's an evolution take place. Monavie was one of the first companies. Number one, we got paid $10,000 per week per business center. Okay, now again, kind of a simple question. Which is better in building two legs, $1,000 a week or $10,000 a week? Just throwing that out, okay? On top of that, we came up with this thing called generational check match, okay? What generational check match did is I always had the ability to match people that I brought in, not only people I brought in, but I would match their binary checks. What generational check match does for you is it literally allows you to double, triple, quadruple your income for the leaders on the same volume. So if you're doing $100,000 on the left, $100,000 on the right, you get your binary check. And if your binary check is, I mean, let's just keep it simple. Let's say it's $10,000 a week. Typically your actual income for that week would be 20 whatever thousand per week because of the generational check match. Phenomenal. Okay. Now, every compensation plan has the good, the bad, the ugly. The one issue that you have with binary compensation plans is in most cases, you've got to have a ton of people in your organization to make any money. I mean, I do another training where I literally go through and I compare compensation plans, but to make $1,000 a week or to make $1,000 a month, I mean, in most compensation plans, you've got to have 200 to 300 distributors in your organization. Okay. That's why I want you to all understand these models that I've talked about are old school models. They're like the Volkswagen Bug of the network marketing industry. They're old school models. You've got to have a huge number of people in order to make $1,000 a month. And I want you to understand $500 to $1,000 a month is the key to this business. If we can get our people making $500 to $1,000 a month, guys, number one, they'll never quit. But number two, if that's the duplication model, we now have a model that is a worldwide universally acceptable model. You understand 80% of the population of the world, when you think about the population of the world, Asia, Latin America, Africa, make less than $1,000 US per month. Okay. So let's talk about the model of most companies. Now, I live in the state of Utah, which is the network marketing capital of the world. I can go up and down I-15 here, up and down the Wasatch Front. and there's probably 75 of the top 100 network marketing companies in the world within a 100-mile radius of my house. I've met with most of the owners, most of the executives of those companies. I've talked to them. Here's the model that most companies have. In most cases, you start with a big package, a $300, a $500, a $700, a $1,500 package. See if this sounds familiar, okay? On top of that, it's 100 points or 200 points a month in order to stay active and qualified, okay? Okay, so that's one issue. That's the issue. That's the money that you're spending in order to get involved in the company, okay? The bigger issue to me is, what does it take to get money coming back this way? Here's what I want you to understand about the Gobi compensation plan. In most cases, in most companies, it takes somewhere between 25 and 40 distributors in your organization just to break even. If you really do the math on a residual basis, usually it's about 30 people. Well, think about this for a second. That's a 30-to-1 ratio. What that means is you need 30 people in your organization spending money, and in most cases, MLM products are a little bit higher price than most products that you buy from the shelf. They're good products, but they're higher priced and people aren't making money. It's a 30-to-1 ratio of people spending money. And again, in most cases, if you're spending $150 to $250 a month, that's a significant chunk of change. That's a financial decision every single month. And so that's why it's so difficult for people to break through and really start making money, unless you're just hit it and you're just all out all the time doing everything to break through. It's extremely difficult. You know, the adage of, well, I'll just work part-time until my part-time gig starts making my full-time. I mean, that's a misnomer in this business. We've solved that problem, okay? With Gobi, with our customer bonus and first order bonus, essentially 3 to 4 people, you're break even, okay? So let me just ask you a couple questions. And again, these are pretty simple questions. Which is a better break-even point, 3 to 4 or 30? Okay, it's not a trick question. We're that much better, okay? On top of that, we have a binary compensation plan, okay? Would you rather build 2 legs or 12 legs? Would you rather build 2 legs or 5 legs? Everyone is responsible to build their 2 legs. We make 10 to 20% of the lesser leg of the binary, depending upon what our rank is, okay? Here's the cool part. We max out at $20,000 per week. Now, you know, I worked a binary that maxed out at $1,000 a week. I worked a binary that maxed out at $10,000 a week. And I'm now working a binary that maxes out at $20,000 a week. Which is better to build 2 legs? Again, it's not a trick question. We literally pay twice what most companies pay, okay? Then we have a sponsoring bonus, okay? For you guys that are sponsor monsters, I'm not a huge sponsor, okay? The average diamond in USANA personally sponsored about 34 people. The average diamond in Monavie personally sponsored about 40 people over the course of their career, right? So I sponsored about 35 people in USANA. I'm not a huge sponsor. I'm not the social guy or the social media like we do network marketing now. I'm probably one of the worst there is, but I'm good at turning 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16, duplicating the model when we have a phenomenal model. We have a 20% sponsoring bonus, okay? Now, there are 2 ladies on the call today that literally maxed out the binary the first commission run of Govvi. Do you know what that means? That means they made $20,000 the first week that we ran our commissions. Actually, today we're running the commissions. Is that unreal? Now, if you were their sponsor and you made a 20% bonus on that, do the math. What's 20% sponsoring bonus on $20,000 a week? That's $4,000. That's just on one person. What about the people they sponsor? And then on top of our sponsoring bonus, we have generational check match. I want you to understand how generational check match works. Basically, every single person in the organization that makes a binary check, you make a bonus on their check, 10%, and it goes down to star. Star is the first rank where people do 1,000 on the lesser leg. That's your first generation. It's not just levels, but it's stars. And then it looks through all the people, then down to the next star. That's your second generation. So what you'll find is your generational check match through 4 generations, 10% through 4 generations, will pay you 30, 40, 50 levels deep of binary. Think about that for a second. I mean, that's huge. It double and triples the size of your binary check on mature organizations. We have the global bonus pool, which we had 24 people in the last 10 days hit our superstar rank, which is absolutely phenomenal. We're going to be announcing some pretty cool stuff coming up on Thursday when we have our virtual event. Write this down, get everybody you know on the virtual event. This will be our first launch event of the company. We're launching, it will be at noon Mountain Standard Time. Virtual event, we'll be pushing out the information about that today. But the powerful part about it, and you've seen my silly little yellow pad here, is we have these things called the Gobi Life Bonuses, where we can show people, they go out, share the product, share the opportunity with 2 people, help them get 2. There's a check paid out for $100. 3 by 3, there's a check paid out for $300 or $150, depending upon what subscription they're on. 4 by 4, there's a check paid out for $500. Guys, that's 20 people in your organization. Okay. A 5 by 5 is 30 people in your organization. So here's the power of what we've got a hold of here. We can show people with 20 to 30 people in their organization, they can make 500 to, with the other bonuses, almost $1,000 a month on a $100 business. They need to be on the $100 pack in order to maximize the Govvi Life bonus. Guys, we have a product here that has virtually 0 resistance. Okay, people want it, people need it. I mean, the biggest issue we're having is just, I carry packs. I can't keep in this product. It's the first time I've ever done network marketing before. So I just want to talk real quick. Number one, when you're building your organization, you are responsible to build 2 legs. Okay. And I hear this all the time. I hear these terms like power leg, inside leg, personal leg, shared leg. Guys, everybody has 2 legs. Okay. If your power leg isn't as big as you want it to be your power leg, guess whose fault it is? It's not your uplines. It's not your downlines. You're responsible to build 2 legs. Now, if you have people placed in your downline from your upline, that's a blessing. But you know, all these terminologies, these binary gurus that go out and say, let's talk about this structure for a second. You go out and you build your outside legs. You got to just place them down the outside, the outside, the outside, the outside. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Okay. And I just want to give an example real quick. If you have 30 people in your organization, okay, and you're just building down the outside legs, and you stack 15 people, go 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down the outside legs on 30 people, how many checks are made with that structure? You know? 1, the very top person. Okay. Now what happens if you build it where 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 4, 4 turns into 8, 8 turns into 16? How many people have you got in that structure? About 30. How many checks are created with that structure? About 15. Okay. So if you don't quite know how to structure a binary compensation plan, and I'm not saying build it, all the inside legs and that sort of thing, but guys, pay attention to where you sponsor your people. Okay. Because I will teach you, and I'm one of the few owners and founders of a company that will teach you how to maximize a compensation plan. Because I believe that if you do it right, you can literally double and triple the size of your income on the exact same volume. You know what? We have a cap on the binary. Gobi has a cap of 60%. And so we want you to maximize that. We want you to make as much money as you possibly can. I've worked companies. I mean, I'm just going to show you real quick. I've worked companies I've been trying to solve. I had a little company called Gobi, Vail, where we had a 4x4 bonus. I've worked companies where we had multiple positions. USANA, we had multiple positions where we could build more than one position. I've worked companies where every aspect of this compensation plan, I've worked bits and pieces of it in the past. I was involved in a model a little bit earlier before Govvi. I thought it was a phenomenal model. It was a phenomenal model. And honestly, we modeled some of our things after that model because we felt it was a very strong model. So if I can tell you anything today, understand what you've got a hold of here. Again, we have a product that has virtually zero resistance. We have a compensation plan or a model that is, in my opinion, the strongest in the industry and a worldwide universally acceptable model. All you got to do, and you will see some of the tools that are coming out. On Thursday, we're going to be introducing marketing tools. We're going to be introducing videos. We're going to be introducing the marketing system, all of those things, and just watch what happens. I mean, it's crazy what we've done. I mean, on a whisper campaign, we haven't even gone public that we're open for business. And it's nuts. Like I said, we had 24 people hit our top rank in the last 10 days. It's just nuts what's going on. So you're in the right place at the right time. If you have other questions, we will have more training on compensation plan and structure and all that sort of thing. If you have specific questions, you can call me. This is what I do pretty much all the time. You can call Carrie, Angel. You can call it the other top leaders of the company. They know how to build it. They know how to structure it. They've been there. They've done that. And we've spent hours and hours going through trainings and structurings and looking at trees, all those sorts of things. So guys, get fired up, get excited. Let's finish out June. Let's finish out this month strong. We're going to make some announcement about an incentive trip. It's going to happen in September. It's going to be pretty cool. And we want you all there. So